thank you very much for the opportunity to chat to you all today about, as Simon said, the Embryonic African Crystallographic Association. So we are working towards this association. And it's really nice to be able to talk to this community of people who, and to see how much has changed since the last time I was at an AFLS organized meeting, and how much things have gone forward and progressed. So yeah, thank you that I can be here. You've heard this morning from a couple of people who've mentioned things about the growth of science in Africa, and of course the African Crystallographic Association is focused on crystallography. So this is just a map of countries in Africa where there are diffractometers, as far as I am aware. Of course, some of them in Benin you have just heard about from Delia's very nice presentation. But as you can see, there's not a lot in terms of facilities in Africa. And what I'm going to show you next here is the countries in Africa where there is an association that is a member of the International Union of Crystallography. And again, not a lot of countries in Africa are members of the IUCR. Our newest country to join is Cameroon, who joined more recently, but the focus has been in the north and in the south of Africa. But what is happening, and that's what I'm going to show you now, is that crystallography is growing in Africa through the efforts of many organizations. And here what I'm highlighting is the most recent crystallographic association to be formed in Congo, and then countries that are starting to talk about forming crystallographic associations. So Gabon, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and then in Ghana and Kenya, there are active crystallography communities that tend to associate through the materials associations or the materials science societies. So definitely crystallography is growing in Africa. And that's what has started to bring about the formation of an African Crystallographic Association. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a little background of where this came from. And a huge role in the growth of crystallography in Africa has been played by the IUCR, and particularly by the Crystallography in Africa initiative, which was launched in 1999 and is currently chaired by Claude Leconte, who will speak a little bit later this afternoon. And the IUCR Africa Initiative has been working for some time to promote the development of crystallography in Africa. During the International Year of Crystallography in 2014, one of 3 IUCR-sponsored summit meetings was held in South Africa, in Bloemfontein. And at this meeting, there was a conference and then a meeting that led to a declaration relating to developing regional scientific collaboration and developing crystallography in Africa. And at this meeting, the idea of an African Crystallographic Association was mentioned. So this is these are the people at the meeting, and this is Andre Root, who was the first chair of the steering committee to form an African Crystallographic Association. And that came out of the Bloemfontein meeting. And also the delegates at that meeting signed, as you see here, a declaration with a number of points relating to developing science and particularly crystallography in Africa. And one of the things that this led to was the first Pan-African Crystallography Conference, which I think you might see some of these pictures more than once today. This first Pan-African Crystallography Conference was by all accounts a huge success. It was held in Chang in Cameroon in 2016. And at this meeting, which was attended by delegates from across the world and really a huge number of delegates from Africa, the sort of plans towards forming an African Crystallographic Association went forward. And this is where a specific steering committee was formed. And then at the IUCR meeting in Hyderabad in 2017, a number of people who were involved in the steering committee of Africa met again and sort of redesigned the way the steering committee works, and that's the structure of it we have now. So what we have now is that we have divided Africa into regions, 5 regions, and the steering committee has a representative from each of these regions, also a chair and a secretary, and then we have 3 ex officio members who have a great deal of experience with organizing crystallographic associations. So it's now a small steering committee of people. And through that steering committee, because each region has a representative, that representative then has contacts in each country where there are active crystallographers. And through that, we've started to build an active network of crystallographers across Africa. Another next big step was the PCCR2 meeting, which was held in Ghana in 2019. And that meeting was held as a joint meeting with AFLS. So because of the great overlap between these two communities and the great overlap between our aims and our missions, this was a very, very successful meeting. You see the speaking stick again here. So this meeting had over 200 participants from 35 countries. And at the PCCR2 meeting, Andre Roth stepped down as the chair of the Africa Steering Committee, and we put together a new steering committee. So this is the current steering committee of Africa. This is our secretary, Patrice, and these are our 5 regional representatives. And again, you see the overlap with AFLS, so people are involved in both of these initiatives. And you see our ex officio members who are giving advice on how to take this forward. So one of the other things that very much came up at the meeting in Ghana was issues with communication about what's going on with crystallographers across Africa. So this is why we now have a Facebook page for Africa. So if you work in crystallography at all and you don't know about Africa, please go look at the Facebook page and get in contact with us so that we can make sure that you're on our list and you find out about things in the future. So there's also a young crystallographers WhatsApp group that is also quite active in terms of passing information between people. So that is happening. And then the other thing that has happened specifically since the meeting in Ghana is that we have put together a mission and a vision statement for the African Crystallographic Association. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that from the point of view of how much overlap there is in terms of the aims of AFCA and the aims and mission of AFLS. So this is the mission of the African Crystallographic Association, which is to contribute to the advancement of science on the African continent, of course, via crystallography, and to promote African cooperation, again, in crystallography. And I think from this you can see that, as has already been mentioned today, we're all sort of working to the same ideas of advancing science on the continent and promoting cooperation. So AFCA has a list of specific strategic visions that we have in order to try and get this mission achieved. So I'm just going to quickly show you those. And a number of these come out of the meeting at Bloemfontein as well. So the first of these is to create a network of African crystallographers. And I think, again, this is a ground-up approach to building the community of people who will eventually use an African light source. And then there's some more specific points in terms of facilitating national crystallographic associations and the development of those, and also supporting efforts to become a regional member of IUCR. Another big thing that we do is to organize the Pan-African Conference on Crystallography. So this is now a regular meeting, or would be, more on that later, if it weren't for the craziness of the world at the moment. So that is another big aim of AFCA. One of the things that we also wish to do is to push public awareness and engagement. So again, common ground with many of the things we've heard today. Then support training activities is a big vision that we would like to have for the African Crystallographic Association. And Claude, who will speak later, will speak more, I think, about open labs. And then, as we've already heard, equipment and infrastructure are major issues for many scientists across Africa. So these are specific focuses for AFCA to help in the process of acquiring equipment and developing infrastructure. And then these last few points were specifically came out of the Bloemfontein meeting and issues that were raised there. Encouraging mobility of researchers within the continent, and we've heard quite a lot about that also today. And then a couple of points on financial support. And then this last point that I wanted that is in our vision that I wanted to specifically raise today is to lobby for the introduction of a scientific visa. And I'm sure that many of the people who are listening are aware of issues with visas within Africa is one of the big hindrances to being able to travel to do science. So this specifically came out of the Bloemfontein meeting as a thing that an African crystallographic associations should lobby for. So that's what AFCA is about. And as I said, we are, one of our aims is to organize the PCCR meetings. And we had a formal bid process to organize the next PCCR meeting, which was supposed to happen in Nairobi in 2021, in quite a short while actually. But of course, with everything that's going on, we have postponed that meeting. And I think what's particularly interesting at the moment is that one of the, if anything good can be said to have come out of this pandemic, one of the good things is that we are now all much better at this kind of virtual meeting and virtual communication. And I think that this is going to be really important in advancing the African crystallography community because of all the issues that we have with travel. At least now we have another way in which we can communicate with each other and bring things forward. So the PCCR 3 meeting is definitely still happening. We've put it off by a year and are in the process of starting to talk about the program again. And once again, because of all the overlap in the mission and vision of AFCA and of AFLS, and because of the common ground we have between the two communities, there's definitely going to be a session about large facilities at PCCR 3. So watch the space for more information. And yeah, I just wanted to finish off by putting up the URLs of a couple of places where you can get information about AFCA and about PCCR 3. And there's the IUCR website as well, with some information about the work IUCR is doing in Africa. Please, if you are involved in crystallography in any way and we don't have your name on our mailing list, excuse me, please get in touch and let us know so that we can grow our network of crystallographers who are going to be the future users of an African light source. Thanks very much.
You're muted, Simon. You're muted.
Thank you very, very much, Delia. A really wonderful talk. And you are picking up a lot of questions there in the chat. I think we're still drifting over time. And I see we have a comfort break, so we could probably use that. So let's hold the questions. The speakers can also answer them during. And I just want to say we would love to partner with you again in a conference at some future time if we can talk about it and keep our minds on that as a goal.
Absolutely, there's so much in common between these two communities that, I mean, there's no question that this kind of thing will happen again. So,
and it's really lovely again to see the footprint in Africa increasing, and we just wish you lots of strength, Africa, in the way